Hi everyone. Today's episode is essentially a Q&A session ahead of this weekend's Sudspeed Blackout team event. Mike will be with me in just a minute or two. We're going to go through some of the more common questions and areas of interest for the race, as well as Mike giving us a couple of bits of news and updates on the race event and the site changes you've probably all been seeing. Now, we will still be answering questions in the Discord, so if there's things we don't cover today, please feel free to consult the rules, or if still unsure, send some questions to the competition committee on the Discord. This is being recorded prior to the iRacing season update, so if you're listening in after that and shit hit the fan, well, apologies. We didn't know about it when we did this. And I'm sure we're scrambling like mad to come up with contingencies for whatever's going on. So keep an eye out for anything that we release on the announcements channel with regard to sorting out anything that we didn't see coming. Anyway, so let's get Mike into the chat here in a sec and get into it. Hi everyone, just interrupting myself here for a minute to remind all Major Series and MEC members that our fantastic partners over at Sudspeed are offering anyone using the code MAJORS not only a 10% discount on anything from their range of sim racing gloves, socks and shirts, but they'll also be donating a further 10% of all sales under that code back to Major Series charities for 2025. So it's a win-win for you and our charities. Jump on over to sudspeed.com and check out their gear, especially the new range of glove designs recently released, as well as now stocking XXL gloves, which for the larger sim racer like myself, it's a great addition and one that I'm already enjoying. Remember the code MAJORS at checkout and enjoy getting your hands into some Sudspeed mittens. Sim racing gloves for sim racers by sim racers. Now, back to the podcast. So starting off for the podcast today, we have a few announcements or little bits of news or updates for everybody. Mike, we've decided that we're going to add some extra things so that people can win coins for this weekend in Sudspeed Blackout. So could you give us a little rundown on what we've decided to add?
Okay, yeah. So very excited. We ordered enough coins that we're going to be able to give away a few more than we had originally planned for pre-qualifying as just sort of an extra incentive to absolutely go pedal to the metal, do your best. The fastest lap in each class, so GTP and GT3, will each earn a coin. So one driver, it's not for the whole team, but one driver per class will earn an extra coin just in pre-qualifying, so before the race even starts. And then on race day, pole position in both classes in every split will earn an extra coin. And again, that goes to the driver, not the team. So choose your drivers wisely, I guess I would say.
I think that's a great addition, and it'll mean that it's a 12-hour race, so generally qualifying doesn't mean a huge amount, but now it does, so that's great.
Exactly. That is great.
So second thing that I thought we'd let people know about, Mike, the broadcasting of Top Split for Blackout is going to be a little different to what we've done for Majors 24 and the league in the past. Can you give us a bit of a rundown on what we're doing and who's going to be doing stuff with us?
Yeah. So basically, the most important thing for people to know is that the broadcast is going to be on the Majors Series YouTube channel directly. So we'll post links once those are ready. A gentleman named Adam Preston is going to be the producer. And we've got a few commentators who are familiar with our series going to help out during the broadcast. I'm excited to try this because I've really wanted to put the broadcast on our main channel for a long time. This is a good opportunity to test that out. Also, in the circumstances where we've had people very familiar with our series in the broadcast booth in the past, whether that's Lynn Kinchlow last year or Christian Challoner in years past joining the broadcast teams, I think it adds a lot to it and makes it, instead of just another broadcast, I mean, it's very personal to our series. So, yeah, I'm excited to try that out and see if we won't do more of that in the future.
One of the third-party apps that the team's going to be using is based from a group called SDK Gaming. They do a lot of work or provide services to broadcasters in iRacing around data, graphics, information that can be used in the back end in producing broadcasts like this. In the MEC announcements link, which will be up by the time you hear this podcast, it will be a link to an app that SDK Gaming do, and it allows teams to fill in driver information, team bios, that sort of stuff. Just give that little bit extra information and detail around your team for the broadcast team to use. Anybody that even remotely thinks that they could be in Top Split, if you could get on there and download that app or fill out the form, that would be really helpful for the guys and girls in the broadcast booth to be able to give a little bit extra detail and info about your team and about your drivers. So yeah, jump on that link. It's free. It doesn't cost anything to do. Fill out that form, and yeah, that'll just provide a little bit extra for the broadcast team to be able to use in putting that together. So yeah, the idea of majors broadcast by majors people for me sounds really cool. And yeah, like you said, Mike, yeah, having people that know the series, they've raced wheel to wheel with the drivers that are on screen, and they know that little bit more about them. Yeah, I think it'll make for a really good product.
Absolutely.
So the last little bit of news or updates for everybody, Mike, if you wouldn't mind, give us a little bit more on what's going on with the website. Everybody that's been on there that is familiar with what it used to look like or how it used to work has probably seen little bits of changes and repeated posters with different regions attached to them and all sorts of things. Drop down menus suddenly appearing on pages. So, what are the things that are already up there? Some of them I know are still being trialed and sort of half in development, but whatever. We're starting to see some things. So what's gone up there? What are people seeing now? And what are the things that they can expect to see in the next week or two as the new updates get finalized on the website?
Yeah, the biggest thing is that just each series in and of itself is going to be siloed on the website. So it'll be kind of a self-contained unit where you'll have the schedule, you'll have the standings, you'll have results, you'll have the pre-queue results, you'll have protest results, you'll have all those things will be associated to the series from which they came. And when I say series, so some people will be confused because we've always kind of said the major series with this big umbrella with the three regions. Each region is now we're viewing it as its own series now, even though the schedules are very closely linked, and they're for the most part going to be on the same weekends and all that good stuff. But they are going to be their own individual entities. There's a lot of good reasons to do that. It allows people to register for more series if they want to. It gives us more flexibility with regard to assigning numbers. It gives us a way better ability to display just the information that's relevant to you as a driver. So that's the reason behind it, and that's the biggest change. So it'll look different, but not totally different. Again, just certain little things will be different. When you go to the pre-qualifying page, you won't have to hit the drop down for which race it's in. It knows what region you're in. If you click on your region link or drop down menu from the main page, you'll see the schedule just for that region and a host of other things. So that's the biggest change to the website. And I hope from a functionality perspective, it's better. With the major series in the past, we've had the three races under the same race banner on the same web page. And so displaying things like the green flag start time or when pre-qualifying ends or things like that. While we tried really hard to make that visible and obvious, this just makes it easier. Right on the main page, you can see when the green flag is for your specific race and have no confusion over that.
And just to answer a question from somebody that posted during the week about is the website going to be able to handle the same driver being on two different teams in different regions? Yes, this is exactly why we'll be able to handle that because it's going to see them as completely different series. So that won't be a problem. And for those of you that are looking at running in multiple regions, you're nuts. Okay, so the main purpose of this podcast is to go through some question and answers around Blackout. So thanks for the update there on the series and stuff there, Mike. But yeah, what I might do is I'll start firing some of these questions out. I know you don't have a huge amount of time, so yeah, we'll try and get some answers out there for people to listen to. Maybe this will prevent us having to answer the same question quite so many times. I know that there's quite a number of people that are new to the majors world for this race, so we will do our best to answer as many as we have seen or have thought of, and we will continue to do so. But hopefully everybody will listen to this and it will prevent a little bit of that. Okay, so some questions specifically around pre-queue. One that came in, and this is a fairly easy one. So Mike, let us know, how do I tell which practice sessions are which in the league?
Yeah. So two ways. So the easiest way is just by the start time. If you're looking at a session before it has launched, all practice sessions start on the 00 and all pre-qualifying sessions start on the 01. If the sessions have already launched, if you get into the UI and you see we've got two sessions going at the same time, that means by definition, one of them is a pre-qualifying and one of them is a practice. So you can click onto it, and in the description box, it'll say pre-queue or practice. So that's an easy way. The other way is the amount of time that's left. The way that they're set up, the pre-qualifying sessions never end at the same time as a practice is ending. So the one that has the least amount of time left is your pre-qualifying. But again, if you're looking at them ahead of time, the easiest way is just the 00s and the 01s.
Otherwise, yes. Session description, it's the third row in the list of details when you open up the session before you click register. If you do get into a pre-queue session by accident, don't worry, that's fine. Just don't do any laps and nothing will count against you.
Exactly.
Does pre-queue determine the grids? No, it doesn't. Only determines the splits that will be in. So that's a fairly easy one. How does pre-queue work? I'll answer this one, Mike. It's the same as a regular iRacing qualifying, except you get 4 laps instead of 2. Some people, maybe because it's a 4-lap thing, they get a little bit confused with the way Indy 500 qualifying works with averages and whatever else. No, it's nothing. There's nothing confusing. We're not trying to trick anybody. It's just like a normal iRacing qualifying session. It's just that you get 4 laps instead of 2 and your best one counts. That's it. Does everybody have to do a pre-queue in my team? Mike, maybe just run down that one.
Yes, you do. So everybody's required to do a pre-qualifying. If you don't, there are penalties come race day if somebody races and did not qualify. So again, you don't have to be in the top 2 on your team, and we only count your top 2. But if you have 4 drivers, they all need to set a pre-qualifying time. It's our way of knowing who is actually going to race. It's our best way to judge the team, so that you don't have somebody that is a hot shoe, that doesn't do a pre-qualifying, and 2 guys that are a little slower on the team do the pre-qualifying, and then they get put down in a third split. Why you'd want to do that, I have no idea. But let's say you did, and then you can feign ignorance by saying, well, he didn't have time to qualify, and so, we really no, that's sandbagging, and that's a penalty because you didn't qualify. So all those things would apply.
As far as sandbagging is concerned, which you brought up there, Mike. Obviously, there are awards in all of the splits. So maybe, and like Mike said, I don't understand it either. Maybe some people would deliberately try and get themselves into a split that is below their actual ability level because they would, feel like they need to. In the rules is a quite detailed explanation of what we would consider sandbagging. So somebody that's deliberately tried to put themselves in a split that's below their ability and what those penalties would be. I don't think we need to go over it now. It's in the rules. We're not trying to catch out people that perform well in their split. So this is not about a balance of performance or anything like that. This is about somebody that's clearly well and truly above the ability of a lower split. Have a read of that if you're worried or not quite sure how sandbagging would work or how judgment of sandbagging would work. I think that's the best way of people getting across how that is going to be dealt with.
Let me answer a question though that people will inevitably ask on that topic in terms of, well, what if this happens? And the common one is, well, what if I just have a bad qualifying session? What if I'm just, I just perform really badly in my qualifying session and I don't want to pay for a second one? Well, number one, you get 2 this time, so that's the good news. But if you have 2 really bad qualifying sessions and they're seconds, off of what you're capable of doing, do you need to purchase a third qualifying? Yes, you absolutely do, or you would risk receiving penalties for sandbagging. Again, we protect the integrity of the splits. It's super important that the reason we have multiple splits, the reason is so that everybody has a great race, from whether it's first split to fifth split to whatever split we might have. Everybody deserves a great race. Nobody should cheat that. So again, if you have an honest, bad qualifying and you just screw it up and you're seconds off your normal pace, do you need to go out and do another one? Yes, you do.
Okay, there we go. And it's not like it's prohibitively expensive.
No, not at all.
Uh, okay, one question, which I'll take this one. I did a pre-queue session, but there's no time listed for me in the pre-queue results page. Why is that? Okay, couple of things to note here. The results are not immediate on the website. This is a manual upload process. Somebody has to go and get the results of each of the sessions, process them, and then upload them to the website. So it's not going to happen immediately. As the week goes on, the updates will happen more and more regularly so that people can see where they're sitting as far as the pre-queue leaderboard is concerned. You could also see at the top of the pre-qualifying page a timestamp, and it will be in your time zone, of when the results were last updated. So if you've done a pre-queue run and it was after the time that the last update was done, don't worry, that's why it's not showing up yet. Now, one thing that we've had quite a lot during the Majors 24 this year was somebody will have done a run, an update will have occurred after the session that they ran in, and they're still not included. In 99% of the cases, that was because the driver's iRacing ID in their majors profile was not correct. So when the results came in and we upload them to the site is trying to match lap times to an iRacing ID. And if it can't find one that matches, it won't put it into the pre-qualifying list. So if you believe that an update has occurred since you did your pre-qualifying run and there is no lap time listed for you in the list, please go and check in your profile that your iRacing ID is correct, because it will almost always be that has caused the problem. And if it is incorrect, just change it, resave your profile, and then the next time that an upload of qualifying times occurs, it will then be able to match to that corrected ID, and it will then put your lap in the list for the pre-qualifying. So hopefully that prevents some people freaking out about their lap times not showing up. Obviously, if you get in there and find that your ID is still correct and it's still not showing up, then yes, please do wave and shout at us and we'll figure it out. So moving on away from pre-qualifying, we've got a few other questions in some random categories that I'll put here. How do I register a new driver to the major series? Mike, maybe if you can run down how somebody can actually get their drivers in and participating.
Yeah. So if you've already created a team and you need to add somebody to it and they need to become a member, they just go to themajorseries.com. When you don't have an account, one of the top buttons at the top of the page will simply say join, I believe, or register. I think it's join. Click on that, fill out the form, and you're good to go. As Garen mentioned in the last answer, make sure your iRacing member ID is accurate. First and last names, please. And then your team owner will be able to find you and add you to a team.
The other thing is in the iRacing UI as well, you will need to be a member of the league to participate in the practice and pre-qualifying sessions. Just send an application. It's league ID 9686 and admins will approve as soon as we see it. We're getting in several times a day and checking those. Don't expect it to happen in 5 minutes. But yes, we will do it as soon as we can. Will there be rain? I don't know, but it's the Nordschleife in the middle of the night in winter. So yeah, let's see.
So, I mean, yeah, just think about that. It would be a good way to look at it. But, one of my, it's not a pet peeve, but uh, seeing hour by hour forecasts in officials and knowing almost exactly how much it's going to rain. I mean, iRacing has way more faith in weathermen than everybody else. So yeah, it's if it rains, how much it rains, when it rains, all of those things are not known. Won't be discussed, won't be told to you beforehand. I think we can say with certainty it's not going to be a torrential downpour for 12 hours. I'll spoil it there, but won't really say anything more than that. You'll notice that the practice sessions have a myriad of weather. They're not all the same. Some have rain, some don't, and be prepared. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah. Part of the reason that we don't answer that question as well, because we don't know either. We'll just be seeing the parameters and saying generate, and what happens, happens. A couple of people have asked that they see a race session in the league at the very bottom of the page. Is this the actual race? And I'm guessing that people were asking that because they were trying to get a read on the weather. This is just a placeholder for people to be able to see what the race sessions will look like, what's the practice length, qualifying times, and that sort of stuff. And also in their own time zones, this is when this starts, this is when practice is open, this is when qualifying is, that sort of stuff from a planning perspective. The actual race sessions will be hosted, and the reason we do that is so that we can password protect them. Each team will be given a password only for the split that they qualify for. Just stops teams registering into the wrong ones and causing issues that way and that sort of stuff. So it is only a placeholder, and I know that confused a couple of people, but yeah. So if you were trying to get a read on the weather that way, sorry, that's not going to help you either.
People are very clever, I will say.
They are, and they will look for any and every little bit of information or advantage that they can find. And that's what happens in the real world as well. So
exactly.
There it is.
That's right.
Okay, can we use the new Ferrari and Acura? Is it Acura or Lexus? What's the new
It's an
GT
Acura.
coming?
Acura.
Yeah, can we use those new cars when they get released?
Yes. Long answer. Yes.
Long answer, yeah. No, and a more general expansion of that answer is you can actually use any of the cars within a class for pre-qualifying. You can use 2 different cars for your 2 pre-qualifying runs if you're not quite sure which car you want to use. Switch in and out as long as it's within the class, perfectly fine. You're only locked into your class once you do pre-qualifying, and you're only locked into the car for the race when you log into the race server.
Yeah.
Okay, this one I'll take too, Mike. In the rules, it says that there'll be a tyre limit. Is that true, and what will the limit be? Yes, it did say that there would be a tyre limit. We are not going to be enforcing that. The reason for that is the update, which is going to happen in 11 hours and 20 minutes from the time of this podcast, is going to have a new tyre model for the GTPs. And we have no idea how that's going to perform relative to the tyre model that we have now. If the tyres burn out super quickly, or there's something about that that we hadn't anticipated, and we've already set a tyre limit, that could cause some real dramas in terms of cars being able to get to the end of the race. So for this race, we're not going to enforce a tyre limit. It's just it's a bit too risky for people that are also hanging around to do MEC, which hopefully is everybody. We will get an understanding of how the tyres work, and then tyre limits will be applied for that series. Will there be live admins in every split? I'll take this one again too, Mike, if you don't mind. At this
Sure.
point, it looks very likely that it will be. I think we've just got enough volunteers to cover all the roles that we need for what's looking like it's going to be 3 splits. We're at 100 teams now, and it would need to get to 140 teams to trigger a 4th split. If that was to occur, maybe we wouldn't be able to cover that 4th split with live admins. Maybe we would if we then got more volunteers. But at this point, yeah, with 3 splits, it definitely does look like there'll be live admins in every split. Now, I just wanted to cover what's the difference between live admin and race control. Again, this is sort of detailed in the rules as well, but essentially, race control will be a central group of people that will be looking at incidents, protests, administrative issues, and those sorts of things, all as a single group. So any protests that come in from any of the splits will all go to the same group of race control volunteers to review and make determinations on whether any penalties should be applied. Same thing for any administrative things that come in. So that will be the role of somebody in race control. The live admins, they will be people that stay within their designated split during their session as being the live admin. And their role will be triggering safety cars, administering penalties that come to them from race control. So don't shout at your live admin in your split. They may have had nothing to do with whether you have been given a penalty or not. It might have been a completely different group of people that looked at it. So just be aware of that. So those are the 2 roles of people or volunteers that will be helping with the running of the races. And it is not too late if anybody is keen on volunteering to help out with a little bit of those roles. It doesn't have to be for the whole 12 hours. You might have 2 hours to spare or 4 hours to spare that you'd like to help out with those roles. That is always welcome. And there's some links in one of the announcements that Mike put out where you can add your name to that list if you would like to. So I think
Absolutely.
that covers that one off. Mike, I'll throw this one your way if you don't mind. How do we submit a protest?
All protests will be done within Discord. We have over 5,000 people in the Discord server, so I'm guessing most of you are in it. If you're not, if you're listening to this and you haven't joined the Majors Discord yet, please do so. When race day gets here, in the MEC section of the Discord, there will be a new channel. It's a threads channel that will be for protests, and we'll have some sample protests up for you to look at how you format them. You'll submit a protest as a thread in Discord. We require that you submit a video because in case we don't have a live admin in your split at the time that the incident happened, for whatever reason, we want to be able to look at it. As Garen said, we likely will have live admins on all 3 splits, which means we'll be able to use that person to as a viewer into the split and look at the replay file, which is always better because we can back it up and look at it from different angles and different perspectives and all that kind of stuff. So that's the idea. But fail-safe, we do require that you submit a video file with your protest. It'll explain what happened to you, when it happened, who it happened by, and we will make a judgment and let you know.
Yeah, within the rules, there's a list of things that need to be provided with the protest, what lap it was, your car number, their car number, that sort of stuff. So have a look at that. If you had already looked at an older version of the rule set where it said a replay file was only required if you were in a split with no live admins, as Mike said, we have now changed that. So submit a video file anyway. It just gives us that fallback option if for whatever reason, I don't know, the live admin in your split happened to have a disconnect and it just occurred at exactly the same time that you've had an incident. And so we have no replay of it or access to it ourselves. Yeah, I think it's just good to have both options there available. So the only other thing to suggest or to remind people about with the protest is for this race, we have a 1 hour limit to submit it. So from the point of the incident, you've got an hour to submit something. That's just to try and keep things moving along and to make sure that people don't submit protests in the last 10 minutes of a race so that other teams don't have a chance to serve it or do something about it or appeal it or whatever. So that's why that's there. I'll take this one, Mike. How many incident points are allowed in the race? We will be setting it at 5 incidents per hour. That seemed to me like a fairly reasonable, non-prohibitive or non-draconian number. So that's 60 for the race. Would be incurring a penalty if you got to 60 incident points. And then we'll probably be putting it at drive-through at every 20 points after that. And the last one I've got on the list here, Mike, are there logos for Blackout and MEC?
Yes, there are logos for the race, and along with the semi highly encouraged required decals. You can find them in Discord under decals in the MEC section. So if you want to add the race logos or series logos to your car, absolutely encouraged. More than encouraged is to add the decals. Please, 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 please add the decals.
Yeah, there's a prefabricated, that's probably not the right word for the virtual world, but there's already TGA files in there for every car, with the exception of the new ones. I'll get onto those as soon as the templates are released. Essentially just paste that over the top of your car, and it will have the Sudspeed logos as the naming rights partner for the race. It'll have the correct color boards for the classes, and yeah, it'll just give us that little bit more of a professional look, which we'd really like to have. As it says in the rules, you will not be disqualified or removed or banned like some leagues would do if you don't have the right numbered color or the right color boards or whatever else on your car. However, we would really like it if you could do it, please.
Love it. Very nice. Good job.
Okay, so I think that's it. Thanks for helping me work through those, Mike. As I mentioned at the very beginning, do feel free to reach out to the competition committee in Discord if you've got some more questions we didn't cover today. But otherwise, good luck. Fingers crossed that everything goes well with the new iRacing release. And yeah, have a great week as the event rolls on.
Fucking harden up.